Welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My name is Minna Crichton. Today is the 4th of April 2025. On my YouTube channel, it's all about me, my entity, and my personal testimony about my personal journey on earth and the existing facts of me talking about all my personal journey to do with life and incidents and referring it to my court case in the courts. Basically, there's bits and pieces of my private life in there, and also my professional life and my court case. So basically, just before I get into the topic that's actually on my heart today, just bear in mind we're dealing with forces. So we're dealing with direct forces or indirect forces in the moment and in your personal journey. And so what you are witnessing is me talking about my personal journey personally to do with indirect forces versus direct forces, plus natural law versus organized crime. Okay, so basically that is what my YouTube channel is all about, and just against the opposing allies. We can't see them, we know it's there, and it's just actually recognizing a force, whether it's negative or positive. And also relating the laws on these forces, whether these people are actually breaking the law or they're not. So quite clearly, I'm more so coming from the point of view of a positive force, which is something natural. Everyone is a human being. No one is perfect. No one is born a robot. Behind the scenes, we have our issues, we have our problems, and then we go to work, and work is work for some of us. But reality is, it's actually recognizing what is a positive force and what is a negative force. So I'm coming from a point of view mainly in referring to my court cases of integrity and honesty. So basically, I'm just telling my testimony from my own personal journey versus the opposing allies who opposes me in my court case, which is the offender or the defendants in my cases. But basically, what I wanted to kind of like get everyone focused about is like in the moment and making decisions in the moment and recognizing something, whether it's positive or negative. So I hope, everyone's set of circumstances is different. Everyone's circumstances, religion and belief is different. So, don't take mine on board as yours or anything like that. I'm just basically only speaking for myself. Even the laws that I use, they are applicable to my case and my case only. There is no cases exactly the same, and that's common knowledge from my professional background and experiences that I have experienced in my professional work and also in my private journey. So basically, a positive energy, what we're actually looking at is how we're going to deal with it and recognizing it, whether it is positive. Sometimes a positive energy can seem to be our negative energy. For example, some people get offended quite easily about different things because of their belief opposes what they believe. However, diversity is actually really important, and just respecting each other's opinions and each other's belief. The main thing is just learning to compromise and we just have to respect each other for their own belief and whatever that may be. But we do have the laws that gives us the balance of keeping people within the confinement of not breaking laws and hurting or stealing or doing anything negative. So that's what I'm trying to kind of like get everybody into the mindset where I'm coming from. So it's basically everyone has an opposing ally. We all got people who will not agree with us, so they will obviously find a way to to take you down, is what they'd like to do. And so with this new age technology system, I feel the opposing allies are using the technologies or devices for misuse of devices to take individuals and their families and other people's businesses down. So, but we still have laws that do stop all those kind of things from happening. So there is balance, but the laws give everyone balance, but it's just knowing your rights and how to use it. And just recognizing and reading your set of circumstances is that difference between someone bullying you or you reading your set of circumstances in a negative sense that you are cursed or that everything's going wrong, blah blah blah. Just reading and thinking outside the box. And I just from personal experience, every culture is different. Their beliefs are different. If you don't mix, there's no balance. So there's a lot of misunderstanding that takes place. But the interpretation of the law is also very important. But it is set out. The laws are black and white. There is no grey area, okay? I'm talking from a mindset of somebody that has had a lot to do with the laws and how competent judges and and barristers, more so the experience and the mature thinking. That is how it is. That's their mindset, and that is how it is in the court and authority. And the laws actually keeps people confined, to keep them within their boundaries, and that is what those in fiduciary duty are actually audited by, the law. So the whole idea is to have a service of integrity rather than corruption. But it is possible because like I said, I've come from the court system going backwards to Department of Courts. I felt that was the most safest system, and definitely the integrity of and the constitution of the government and the courts within the courts were definitely held up by men and women that were trained properly to how to use the laws and to abide to the laws rather than using being biased and prejudiced. And people do start creating cliquey groups, and they think they own the government or the system, but they don't, because the laws are actually set out to protect the public welfare and also to protect those within government. But it just takes one wrong person to actually seeds the discord or enforce their beliefs. They call it a bad apple, really, to contaminate our system, and that's why the complaints process are there. And then we have other people like the serious fraud people who would audit people against the law. But just so you don't know, your beliefs do not actually mean anything to the laws. Okay, so from professional point of view and the mindset of those that actually do enforce the laws, the top-notch judges and lawyers I've ever worked with, a breach is a breach, and the defendants are an offender. They've broken the law. They're not actually victims, or nor are they. They have that privilege of having their reputation protected according to the criminal jurisdiction. The offender or the defendant is usually exposed to the public, so then the public is aware that the offender has committed a crime, and that gives other members of the public and those within the government not to use them. But yeah, so basically I'm the actual victim of crimes historically, and I was I had to go on social media. I was guided to do it because I knew what I was going through was serious, beyond serious. They're the kind of things people get killed for. But, you know, if we don't expose corruption, what hope is there for others that actually believe in integrity and aren't actually corrupting the system? So keep in mind, if you've been watching all my other video clips, I'm going to try and keep this short. I have been used, unfortunately, relationship scams is definitely identified in my case, okay? But this is how it's been for me since I lost my privacy while I was working for my employer. You know, I've had a lot of time to heal, and like, it's just so many things God have shown me on my personal journey, just a reality, and everything is so easy for me to prove in the court of law in a criminal jurisdiction. So I've actually used posters to actually describe or express in graphic, design for everyone to get some kind of familiar at what is trafficking in persons or trafficking. Trafficking, in the old system or before technologies, there was a different type of way people used to get trafficked, but now anyone can get trafficked without notice or consent while you're even working with your employer, and that's quite easy now to prove in my case. Obviously, they've used me like a product like they've branded myself or used me like a product to promote other people. So basically I've been in a trafficking ring that is definitely negative, and it is unfortunately the whole idea of whoever the perpetrators are behind the scene is to actually a demolition of a individual. It is definitely illegal. Eventually, the crimes become very serious. So the people used in my cases are the relationship scams. So keep in mind that these people, the defendants, do not represent all their country or their state or whatever. They are offenders, and so basically how you deal with it, you just deal with the offender, look at the offender, at what the offender has broken as an individual, because that's how crimes are dealt with in the court of law. You can do things as a group, but you stand before the judge as an individual, and that's how you will be sentenced for the crime. It's the same thing, the afterlife. I believe in there is a heaven and a hell, and that's how we will stand before God as an individual, even though we've lived our life on earth. So, but it is cybercrime, it is global, it is serious, it is dangerous, and they've actually, I'd say from my point of view, on my natural analysis from everything that I've gone through, the system has diverted, okay? And that's what's clearly reveals in my case. It is illegal, and there's definite AVL, basically other people stealing your energy, your idea. And the scary thing too is so dangerous is these people are using me to get their foot in the door, and we don't even know who the heck they are. But there are other religions and cultures globally have used me for that. But it is a very serious system, but the whole idea for me doing what I'm doing is to at least give other people like myself who is straight, because I'm straight, I'm not gay, okay, I'm not perfect either, but I'm just a normal straight individual, and I am a Christian, so that is my background. So I'm, my way of thinking is natural. But yeah, but I'm not perfect. Don't take me as somebody like that, because I'm not. But I'm just trying, for the sake of those that has a straightforward thinking and brought up naturally and normal, do everything normal. But so that's my mindset in regards to where I am actually coming from on a personal, in regards to my personal journey as the victim in my case. So if you watch all my other clips, I've actually elaborated on the laws, okay? And so there's a lot of good tips in my video clips. It's actually really good that I've actually done it, because this new system, new age, new world order, it affects everyone, okay? I can't really talk or elaborate on something unless I'm a witness to it. So because I am a witness to it, I've experienced it, I've gone through it, and so I see all the things that are very wrong with it, and all I see is fraud if you do not know that you're actually subject to something that's against your will. So it definitely animation or inanimate has taken place, and unfortunately the evidence clearly shows that they've human sacrificed me without my consent, although, I knew what I was going through was serious, but I did not know what to do other than just go through the journey and making the right decisions within the moment. Okay, so that's what I did, was what saved my life, is making the decisions in the moment to stay alive, because I knew I was being singled out and I was being personally targeted, and I also knew people were secretly using me and stealing off me. But what could a single person do like myself with my kind of background? But definitely it does eventually end up being home invasion. You do end up losing everything, exiled, and before you know it, it's not a pleasant space to be in. It's not good for anyone's mental health, but all the signs of mental anguish comes from the personal injury, from the psychological and mental abuse by the secret societies that takes place in your journey. That's what's happened to me. There are things like your word against theirs. The opposing allies are the criminal alliance, okay? Everything is criminal organized, but it's just recognizing the signs. I have found what's going through is so serious because they like to influence the minds of the victims. They can influence your mind to make you doubt. They can influence your mind to lure or drive you to commit suicide. That's how serious and dangerous it is. But if you know the signs and know that somebody else is controlling you, because I know that's what's helped me, is knowing the signs and knowing that other people were trying to control me and force me to do what they want or force their beliefs on me. And it's just been a real tough journey. But personally, the evidence clearly shows it's another form of human sacrifice. So betrayal takes place, and obviously when people are being used globally for money, pride is in everyone, but to the victims, it's quite, it's a very, words can't even describe the aftermath from being personally tormented emotionally. And just, I can't even describe it. But it is horrific. Mental injury takes place, emotional torment, just so many things take place. And the opposing allies, they are actually personally victimizing the victim's soul, right? they are. It's a game to them. But if you're following me on YouTube and Facebook page, basically just putting in there, because a lot of people don't even recognize what actually is serious mental health. So I believe some of the people behind what I'm going through are definitely got serious mental health fetishes. Like, they get a feed out of watching other people suffer. I know that this kind of thing is very serious. It was treated very serious back in the old system. It would never ever have gone as far as what I've gone through. The danger is, I know I'm not the first victim who's gone through down this path. Probably the first victim who stood against it, haven't given up, and just I've risen above everything emotionally, and I'm still just going with it and just trusting God with my journey. Okay, so if you're a Christian, I like to promote the Bible, and because I feel I need to give God the glory for what I have experienced in my own journey. So this here is actually one of my favorite verses, because this is actually part of God's law in the books of Proverbs. So have a look at it yourself. But it is definitely a revelation of what God calls a wicked heart, or what God calls that is not natural. Okay, so this verse here on Proverbs 26:24 to 26 actually is referring to this verse here. So go on it. It's so the Bible is actually just letters to those who are religious, so you can know the truth, but you're actually not in the truth, if you know what I mean. But God gave the Holy Spirit to guide us to the truth, and so I just believe, I just feel that God has led me to do this, even though it's taken a long time. I feel like, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and then the conclusion. And I feel that's where I'm at, actually, the conclusion of my journey. And I just, honestly, I'm just so overwhelmed. I've been recently, I've just been so teary-eyed and just overwhelmed about everything. But I feel that I need to share the verse, what God has shared me during my journey, to help others, and also to relate it to the laws and why we actually have laws. Okay, but this verse here is clearly what God calls wicked, organized crime methods, and that is what the system is actually doing, except they're using the technologies, and they're actually you can't see them. They're monitoring people, okay? And just because the system has changed and man is trying to make the world perfect, it does not change their heart. Okay. In fact, it's worse now because we cannot see them, and common sense is, if they can get away with stealing and killing, and they will do it. And unfortunately, the system has allowed white extremists and other cultures that are extremists to actually commit very serious crimes. Okay. Indirectly, just by monitoring and texting globally, and misuse of devices. So I think if you've been following me, I think you've got the message where I'm actually coming from. So, but it does put a lot of people who are sheltered, who don't have anything to do with devices and stuff like that, or too busy to even realize that the system has changed, and before you know it, you live life, or the good life, or the rest of it, and then next minute you've lost everything, and you just wondered what happened to your life and what happened. But that is what human trafficking does. Okay, so that is what it's the whole idea of the trafficking ring, is to actually use people like puppets, and they end up being trafficked without themselves even knowing, and then all of a sudden they've lost everything and they don't know what happened or where they went wrong. So the whole idea is, for me, is to actually share my testimony, so at least you can have a chance and have an awareness what trafficking is and what you can actually do within the moment to protect yourself legally, yourself as an individual, your family, your business, your home. And that's why we have laws. Okay, so the laws have changed dramatically. They've tried to confuse everybody, shifting everything. They've actually sliced up the law. It's like the laws actually in the beginning was actually set out for an individual. Okay, and then also the corporate bodies, they are also treated like an individual. Like everything is treated the same as a corporate body, even though a corporate body is just a building. But the members are represented as a body, meaning that they are still supposed to abide to the laws and flow integrity as one, like an individual. Okay, that hasn't changed today. So even though they've cut the laws, it's like they've cut up a human being in pieces, and just to confuse everyone, and then they've got laws for this, laws for that, laws for this. But however, the individual like myself, I'm still one person. I'm not heaps of persons. I'm just one individual, and it's basically me putting my personal property and my entity together. So I'm just trying to explain where I'm coming from, and also recognize the difference between of this new age system. It's dangerous. It's illegal. It can take anyone out. But yeah, so I'll just carry on. All right. So it's a sport. Okay. And there's definitely switching and twinning and switching. So people have definitely used me for that. Okay, but it's illegal. Okay, and because it's a very serious conspiracy crime on one individual, everyone can still get into trouble. Okay, because anything illegal is illegal. It's a crime. You can't dress up crime. A crime is a crime. An offence is an offence. It's either integrity or honesty takes place. Yeah, so if you get caught, you will definitely be either on the right side or the wrong side. Okay, so from my point of view, they've exiled me for years. Because it's been going on since I was working for my employer and my private life when I was at church. So, I'm one of these people who do mind her own business. And I'm very black and white thinking kind of a person. So, all these other things that goes out on the world are foreign to me, until I've actually had to go through what I've gone through personally and realizing exactly what's going on. But what the system and what reveals on my profile is one-sided evidence by the defendants. Okay, and now I'm actually opposing their one-sided evidence that's actually fake and fraud. Unfortunately, they have used other human beings to create deception and fraud on the surface. So that's quite common in the celebrity world. These things I've learned from knowing Henry personally. I didn't understand his culture. But this is what this new age system is all about, and that is my discovery as the actual original of what's going on. It's inhumane, okay? There's nothing funny about it, and it is definitely 100% crimes against humanity, okay, against one individual, because there's definitely a home invasion. So individuals like myself, they are being definitely discriminated, and everybody in my environment are all participating secretly and doing indirect crimes, coughing, sound effects. They're actually victimizing me while I'm actually in my home. I'm just talking from personal experience. They're listening to what I'm saying, and I've spoken out loud deliberately because I know they're listening to me, but they are abusing me within my own space. So that's assault and battery according to the law. And that's still an offence because they are psychologically and mentally abusing our person indirectly, and they are glued to everything I'm doing. Their whole idea is to eliminate me while they steal. So, but the abuse is indirect. But they're just using sound effects, and it's just quite clearly that I'm trapped and held against my will. But I have struggled with the abuse when it first started happening years ago. I was able just to ignore it because my mind was busy with other things that were important. So I just learned to ignore it. Over the years, it just does get too much. And so I have reacted publicly. I'm the type of person, when I do research and study and do things at home, I think out loud. That's the way I do. And I also sometimes used to pray out loud all the time, but then I realized people, they're listening to everything you're saying, and then they're actually doing the opposite when I go out. So it's quite serious what I'm going through, because that's very serious and illegal. So the relationship scam, this is what it actually looks like. And also I've actually been talking Henry and I's spiritual journey together. And if you watch all my other video clips, they're actually true. But these posters here is exactly what I've gone through. No doubt he's animated, and I have been too. The only difference is that he doesn't know his right and his laws, and whereas I do, and I have actually left a trail of evidence for a sufficient good criminal case against all the corporate bodies involved, because cases like mine can be addressed at any point of time in any generation, because it's so serious, because it's a conspiracy. It's an indirect, advanced conspiracy by perpetrators who have not have the permission to do what they've done to me as the individual. Okay, so historically, this is what secret societies are doing, and the reality is the New Age criminal jurisdiction, all right, is set out for this kind of thing to happen to everyone. Okay, so I'm a witness to it, and this is what they're doing. It's globally. The trickery is it's globally, and then these people are coming in the moment in between. Okay, so they're flying in, they're coding each other. It's in most cases it has been different countries, different religions pairing up, different cultures pairing up. But in the real spiritual world, it's either a negative or a positive alliance. You can't be a victim, and you cannot be also, you can't be the victim. You're the one or the other. But what they've done to me is they've used me, made me look like I'm the victim, or I'm the monster, and then the women that are being used are made out to be the favor of the public, but in reality they're only being used as a tool, and it can still backfire on them. Okay, and that's why if you're gonna portray yourself, and instead of listening to your own, standing up for your own self and your own rights, you put yourself at risk, because I have watched this game backfire on innocent civilians. Okay, it is common knowledge that after these evil perpetrators uses people, they will kill you anyway and steal all the money that they've given you, or whatever that is you've exchanged. And if you become a threat, they'll find a way to make sure that they don't get caught. So that is a risk of participating on something illegal. All right, so trafficking is really easy to do in this generation, okay? those who have changed everything and love the good life are painting a pretty picture that the world is beautiful, blah, blah, blah. But secretly, some people are actually, just by the misuse of devices and the monitoring, global espionage, you name it, they can traffic anyone globally. And and that's what they've done to me globally. But now I can actually, there's sufficient evidence for me to actually prove that in the criminal jurisdiction. But this is what it looks like. People can just go on with their life, minding their own business, and somebody can just select a person, a family, or a group of people and just traffic you guys down financially, or just take everyone's out one by one. They will kill people's bloodline because it's a system that just continues. Once they get rid of somebody, they just get another person. Okay, but eventually hostage taking takes place and unlawful everything takes place. So for those like myself who has minded their own business, have just been busy and been a good citizen, law-abiding citizen, minding my own business, a scorpion is actually described, scorpions and serpents are actually described on the modern terminology as imposters. The Bible actually talks about imposters, but these imposters come in the moment. So they're in the crowd, okay, they're in the mix. But their intent is to do the damage. So the system actually allows and caters for these kind of unlawful scams to take place on anyone globally. So it's internal corruption. All right. So no one is safe. I'm telling you, no one is safe. I'm just probably the one-off person that has made it as far as I have, and I don't fear them. Okay, because I hate bullies. I really do. I don't like watching innocent civilians getting hurt. So I'm standing against that. But these people are imposters. Okay, and I'm glued to my imposters. And they just see the advantage of taking an advantage of anyone, and they're into everything, okay? So just for those who are into this game, a demolition of a human being is illegal. It doesn't matter what country you are, what culture you are, it is illegal. And the penalty is 20 years imprisonment, meaning every single body, corporate and individuals involving of demolishing myself, you will all be made accountable if you are linked to the evidence. And it is 20 years imprisonment. So a corporate body is treated like an individual, and all the members within that corporate body, that's up to the judge whether they get dealt with as an individual or as a corporate body. But usually if the main person has decided to do it themselves, they usually will still get dealt with as an individual, and the corporate body still getting dealt with. So the CEO of the corporate body will get into trouble because of what their members are doing. So that's what happens. So sometimes because of the seriousness of the case, you'll either be forced to shut down or change. But people will go to prison for it regardless, and you'll be fined. Okay, so from experience of what I've gone through, privacy invasions taken place. So victims are usually left behind cases, and there's definitely, if the right people are investigating, so if you're into criminology, if I was to investigate a life with myself, it'd be quite easy for me to actually ascertain the evidence and clearly confirm whether the individual has been used for scams or anything similar like what I've gone through. It's very easy to put together. So only because I've personally gone through it, but the system has changed. So the way people investigate has to change, because it's not like how it used to be anymore. People are become more evil and more deceptive and really easy to deceive anybody. And everything's done advanced, and it can backfire too. That's a danger of anything is a risk. So it's a risk if you don't know. Some people think the answer is to shut the world out or ignore the problem, but that doesn't fix the problem, because these people, once they are, once they've made up their mind to attack a specific individual or a specific group of people, they actually do not stop, and then they eventually take everyone out one by one. So it's best not to ignore a breach. Deal with it in the moment the best way you can, but just always stay alert. That's my best advice. Other than that, you'll end up losing everything, and even your life. Okay, so I like to use this as my own personal experience historically. Okay, by the relationship scams, but all these laws, this is what my personal experience has been as an individual. Okay, but this is the idea of what I have gone through globally after being used and being personally attacked. I believe I was being personally attacked because my allies knew I was a Christian. Those that knew me, they're growing up in church and everything, I felt they saw the advantage of taking an advantage of another person. I also knew I was working for witches, and I just knew I was going to get bullied. But I did leave enough evidence to actually make all those people accountable, because a conspiracy, everyone can be made accountable for their part of it, of sabotaging my case. Deputy registrars and judges, I think judges is like 14 years imprisonment, and deputy registrar is 7 years. But that's unfortunately is the reality. Everyone has committed perjury, but it's been a global thing. So it's been a negative thing for me, but also a positive outcome in another sense, because now I'm able to expose this new system, and hopefully things make changes and make it better for everybody, and also giving other people an awareness of what to look out for in regards to being targeted as an individual, and how easy it can happen. So keep in mind this. I'm talking from the personal experience of this new criminal jurisdiction. Okay, nobody is safe. Whoever created the system didn't think, what will happen to the next generation. So it's quite serious system, everyone. Unfortunately, I have, the things I've come across is like, is this for real? Anyway, I'll continue now with what's actually on my heart. Okay, so the Crimes Act, this new system, I have found because I was working for the government. So I didn't know how the system actually worked, or because I was working internally, and it wasn't until I had to actually use the court system myself I realized, oh my gosh, this is not for real, but it is. And I think a lot of my friends too were kind of shocked how long it's taken. Why did it take so long? But it's the system. The system is actually set out that once a person has been pushed out of a job, they, of course, you're already blacklisted, and they have dug up everything about you. So they are controlling your bank accounts. They're reading every single thing you are doing. They're monitoring you for whatever reason. Okay, so this is the new age system. Okay, so I'm experiencing this personally as the victim or as a citizen, and I'm within my right to oppose what they have done to me historically. Okay, so I'm just going to go over through what I feel is relevant for this video, but they have cut up the offences to category 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, and because like I don't even know what let me just see, just hang on a moment. Okay, just bear with me. I'm just trying to find something here in the Crimes Act that I actually think is relevant, okay? But I can say from personal experience, whoever made up the system and the laws, okay, because they are actually using me, I have found, they're actually using me to change the system so victims like myself, can't defend themselves. And the issue that I have about it too is that they haven't stopped using me and they haven't stopped stealing, okay? As you can see, this is actually the Crimes Act 1961. And keep in mind, somebody overseas is monitoring me tightly. So all the positive things, they're doing the opposite. So that's actually serious. It's illegal. But it is a trafficking in person. It is so intimate, absolutely intimate. It is words cannot describe how dangerous it is, okay? But I have to just kind of I just need to focus this. I'm quite sure not all the old school people are dead yet. But I feel that they did go through a bit of a transition where they were getting rid of or personally attacking the good old school people who knows their stuff, like myself, okay? I mean, they'd have to be able to secretly steal of innocent civilians without getting caught. But the twinning and the switching is really serious. It's that intimate. I mean, if I wasn't who I am or the things that God has actually blessed me with and haven't been consistent about the breaches, I could have as easily disappear and no one would be able to find out what happened to me because they've deleted the evidence. And also it's a left behind case. Okay, so I have found that since they started the project, they just keep coming back and attacking. As soon as something I've invented or done something positive, they steal, okay? And it's quite clear they've used me, anything in positive, they're stealing it, okay? And it's global, okay? It's not just New Zealand, it's global. But it's quite serious because the originals are actually my immediate family and friends, and they are also secretly being kept suppressed and watched. So it stops whoever's doing the controlling and the manipulating. They are just wanting to exalt or promote. Okay, so that's what they've done with the opposing allies. The opposing allies are promoting them to deceive the public, to let the public know, this is the better person. So the public will vote them off. That's how the game is. And at the same time, when I go on the radio or listen to commentators, they're actually defaming me secretly, exalting, making up lies and crap and bullshit. Sorry if I'm swearing, because I'm so angry with what they've done. Honest to God, the things they have done and said about me is really, 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 really serious. Okay. I'm only human, but honest to God, the things they have done to a human being, it is illegal. But this is what they've done. They can be done for conspiracy to commit murder. Okay, all the corporate bodies involved. Okay, because I'm making it happen. But it is a no mercy game. Okay, and it's a lockout case. So the evidence clearly shows I was locked out and being abused while I was working for my employer. Okay, so I can't seem to find what I'm looking for. Hang on, I think I'll find it just on my. Okay, so what I have discovered is they've got different people Okay, obviously here it is, a solicitor general. Okay, so they've got different names for different people. So if you watch all my other YouTube channels, I've actually gone over the laws of people that will, that if they break the laws, they will be charged for doing what they're doing to me. Okay, so we're talking about people in the middle. Okay, so what I have actually discovered in what I have gone through, okay, is this. This actually didn't exist before. Maybe it did, but it wasn't, I don't know, I just never knew about it or how it actually works. But it is definitely people in the middle. Okay, so these people are recognized as the law as crown entities. Okay, so these people are like the crown, the people working in the government. The problem is these people can be anybody around the world. So this is where the serious personal attacks can happen to individuals and their families in New Zealand, but by people, other government agencies. This is where the Commonwealth comes in. All right, but the substitutes that are being used are actually representing their country. Okay, the actually sponsors or whatever, and they are in support, or they're sponsoring, or they're trying to promote them to the public by using substitutes. This is where the the relationship scam that I'm talking about. But this is my discovery also when I was going, because I'm currently just doing a lot of research at the moment in the criminal jurisdiction from the mind of a public member. But I have found whoever created this system only thought about making money and the protection of their jobs. Okay. However, the laws still applies to these people. If they get caught, the laws are actually still there. But what I have found, what they've done to me, they've used different perpetrators. Okay, so and then they've all used me for different reasons. They all know I'm the victim, and it's one thing to mind your own business and all the rest of it, but it's another thing when perpetrators are stealing and abusing me indirectly in my home. Okay, it's just horrific. Okay, but this is what I found as confirmation of what I'm talking about. That the actual crown entity. Okay, for those that don't know who is the crown is the government, the state. Okay, and usually in the old system, the crown's priority is actually they're supposed to protect the victims, not the defendant. But in my cases, they're actually representing their defendants who've broken their laws, because it becomes perjury. Okay, it's automatic perjury. If they break the laws, that's serious. It means they lose their license, they get disbarred. Okay, which means they can't operate in public anymore. So that is what I have gone through personally. The problem is I have a reasonable belief in my suspicion of what I'm going through. Why my cases are being sabotaged is that somebody else is representing me without my permission and secretly, or whatever it is. And this is where the unlawful strikes or the decisions made by the judges are unlawful. I don't know, but that's what it seems. Okay, but this here confirms my suspicion. If you look here, it says different types of crown agencies. So we've got this crown agency. Then this one here bothered me a bit. It says anonymous crown entities. Okay, meaning this could be anybody globally coming into my case, fighting it out secretly, privately, without me knowing. And I mean, that doesn't solve anything for me, because because I want to go forward and everyone needs closure. Okay, so they've treated me like a product, like I've got no rights. They've studied me, recorded me, and then they've built cases against me, causing defamation, and then I've gone to challenge it in court. So this here is actually confirmation of that is what is actually taking place. So if you come across like in the beginning when I was like coming through with the first judgments and stuff, I remember one of the judgments, Judge Chalice's judgment, I counted nearly 3 months before that judgment was actually released. And then I came across some other judgments. So it's like somebody else is typing it. And even just to leave something so long, that it's not fresh on the mind, that's not good. Okay, because my case clearly shows that the legal administration of the court system is wrong. Like, it's serious. It's in serious disrepute to the integrity of, of the government, or how the government agency should be. Okay, so that is what I have discovered. Okay, I'm not trying to talk like I know it all, because I don't know it all, but I do know what is expected of people who are getting paid a lot of money. Okay, they're getting paid a lot of money not to make mistakes. Okay, but some of the things, the administration of the courts and how they are dealing with it, it's not top-notch work. Okay, but this is where, like, I know that some people like myself, have probably, some of the barristers have come across some of the judgments made, and you think, what kind of judgment is that? But it is because there is somebody else. All the mix matching is going on in between, meaning they're breaking all the laws. They're doing trading and influence, and if they're coding people and letting their people know they need help, I mean, that's all part of this new age system. Okay, and that's my personal experience with my court cases, and I believe the people that I'm glued to, the danger also is that they're linked to your family, and your family is actually, public people in public are actually innocent civilians. They don't have a clue, anything about the law, whether they're breaking the law or not. They are actually their victims. But those in government, or those behind controlling and manipulating me, have studied me for a very long time. So they know very well that I know my stuff. They know very well that I'm one of these no-nonsense, top-notch thinking type of a person. So they find me a threat in that area. So they've actually used and traded use the system to turn my life into a game and trying to promote themselves over me, but they're doing it the wrong way. Okay, it's illegal what they're doing. So I hope you can understand where I'm coming from. And if you've come across judgments that, where did the judge get that, blah blah blah, but mind you, okay, so in fairness to the judge, to the judges, so everyone knows, the courts and the court deputy registrars and all the staff is a separate entity. So if anything came about investigating how do these judgments became unlawful, because that's fraud. Okay, the whole idea, no one wants to go to prison for 14 years or 7 years for fraud. Okay, but when a audit is taken place, the courts and the registrar, they're actually a separate entity. So everyone knows, even though they've changed the system to try and make out they're all in one umbrella, but according to the law, they are actually a separate entity, meaning the judges can, they can get into trouble whether they set up the judge, or they didn't give all the judge the information. All that are taken into account for a very serious criminal case like mine. Okay, and that hasn't changed. So I have found that some of the deputy registrars in my case have left their job. Okay, they know they've done wrong, They've actually left their job, the job hunt, the job hopping, and they're actually using their friends, their families, and the coding system. And the people that come in my space are actually moved by the coding system. So I hope you understand how serious everything has been. It is getting better, so I congratulate those who have actually woken up. But I feel in my heart that I need to, for the sake of everyone, because also keep in mind, everyone, that in the civil jurisdiction is a different jurisdiction to the criminal. So each judge, they have different they have a different background. They've got to go through different ceremonies to qualify to do certain ceremonies, to do certain orders. So that's how it works. And I can just tell just by listening to people talking to me how experienced they are, or whether they're brand new, or whether they are experienced. So, but that's how it is in the court system, meaning that each judge or whoever the adjudicator, they call them adjudicator in the disputes tribunal. There are other names for them, but they all have a different. They're not all the same. They all got different training for their job description, and that's what they would only be judged for. So I feel kind of disappointed with what I've gone through, but that is the likelihood of the courts get into trouble, the court registrar gets into trouble, because it's quite clearly it's so easy to set up the judges. They've actually used different people all the time. In my case, for the purpose to confuse and to ruin and damage my property. So now I can actually take the Ministry of Justice for damaging my property. But yeah, so I thought I'd just explain that because the reason why the unlawful strikes, or the system that I've gone through, is because it's set out. It's set out to always cover up, and for whoever it is behind it, that there is that is doing what they're doing. But it's actually not fair system. It's quite serious. So I hope you can just get that understanding of what's going on. But you can still defend yourself in the criminal jurisdiction. Okay, so I'm currently still going through criminal jurisdiction with other stuff and just going through the laws, okay, and I haven't broken any laws, and my case actually abolishes the system, like going backwards, because I've actually been consistent. And you can also tell by my case that they've been personally glued to me, okay, so which makes it, that's it's a disadvantage for me, but it's also an advantage in the sense of how easy it is to detect and ascertain who has actually broken the law. Okay, so, but the danger about this is global. Okay, so stay safe, everyone. And what I don't like about it is the original victims are actually innocent civilians. Okay, and they are using people's family, and somebody's going around doing the undermining and doing the sabotaging and telling these people to do this and do that. But a criminal case is a criminal case. That hasn't changed. So if you just, build a case against the opposing allies, whoever they may be, I suggest just do it. Do whatever you got to do to create evidence, or to evidence, and I have found that the hub desks, people at the counter, they've known that it's me, and they've lied to me. They've given me wrong information, or withhold information, or they tell me something that I know that they're just doing it because they're sabotaging me personally, so that other women can steal or whatever it is. But that's illegal. Okay, and then I've actually said, well, I want to contest that and review. Then they quickly changed their tune. Okay, so it's good to always ask questions. If you're not sure, it's your right to ask questions. And those people that are actually serving you, they too have laws they have to abide to, and so does their manager, and so does the CEO of the company and the organization. So if you don't know your laws, I suggest you know your laws, because anything can backfire if you guys are not serving the public and the government correctly. That's why we have laws, is to keep everybody confined to integrity, and it works. It really does. But we do have the odd people in the middle who are imposters. So if you don't know what an imposter is, anyone can imposter a judge, anyone can imposter a deputy registrar, anyone can imposter a doctor. Those things have happened. The scary thing is it's globally. That's what I'm meaning by they're doing hit and runs. So that's the danger of privacy laws when they're gone. They can groom people to their death, to a plot. Okay, guys. Before I finish up, I recommend this movie here. Okay, I like to take a break every now and then and watch a good movie, but this one I found on YouTube, and then I like to recommend it. It's not true, okay, but they are actually a good example of what mental health is, or the topics that I'm actually talking about, okay? So to actually use the Mental Health Act on an individual in New Zealand is a criminal offence. Okay, so if they enforce the Mental Health Compulsory Assessment and Treatment Act on anyone without their consent, if they said yes or no, okay, if they said yes, it's a different story, that's okay. If they said no, or cases like mine where they've set me up, that's a criminal offence. But this film I recommend, it's a good example of why we have that, the Act for Mental Health is to put people like that, okay? It's real. Like, even though this is not a true story, but the actor here who's acting out with the mental health, very serious, insane mental health issues, it's the way it's acted out is exactly what mental health is, okay? They're high risk mental health people that get locked up away from society, and they have found people like this in their occupation, okay? They're very hard to detect because they're very clever at being deceitful, and so this is, I thought I'll put this up because I was like watching it the other night. It's a little bit scary, and I don't recommend it for children under age, but it is good. Just to get your idea, if you don't know what mental health, real serious mental health is, that is what you call real serious mental health people that needs to be, the act is actually for. They get locked away, or if they've committed murder, they get locked away and is treated, is locked away from the public, and the Mental Health Act is used for those reasons, okay? But these people do exist, is what I'm trying to get. Though they speak kindly, doesn't mean they're all that. But the system has allowed these kind of people to operate secretly without getting caught, and it's actually really hard for anyone normal to detect whether somebody is all that, like whether they are genuinely honest, whether their motive intent is for you, or whether they are not. Okay, so these people can fool anyone. They can be anybody, anyone in public office. So I recommend if you watch that. Okay, so corporate bodies can all be made accountable. So I have definitely pressed criminal charges against the corporate bodies in my cases. And so I'm still going on with that, but I'll update you as I feel or motivated to so out of public interest, okay? And because I know that these things are quite serious, and so it's a good learning process for everyone, but there's always life is always about safety first, and also just having an awareness so you can actually protect yourself. I know everyone thinks that we could build a perfect world and block out the world, but the reality is that it's because the systems change, and that just by the misuse of devices, they can take out your secrets, take out anyone one by one, okay, globally. Okay, so for those that I want to finish off with, this is actually my favorite verse. As you all know, I'm pretty straight up, and I'm, just a human being. I'm real in my personality. But yeah, for those that don't know, I do believe in God, and I just want to give my testimony back to God, because that's where it comes from. But if once you have a personal relationship, that's the key, is having an actual personal relationship and finding your own purposes for yourself. Quite obviously, you will get attacked, just for being honest, and it's not easy. No one is perfect, okay? Nobody is perfect. But I feel like promoting the Bible and my religion or my beliefs, because I've personally gone through it, the power of the Holy Spirit and everything that I've gone through that I haven't even mentioned, I haven't even touched base like of some of the big things I've gone through, but just the basics. This verse here, I felt, my early years, I used to think about this because, I was fascinated about, really interested about knowing God personally for myself. But I felt that I'll finish it here, just being relevant. God clearly says that my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. For the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Okay, so I just, like, as a younger individual growing up, learning about spiritual things, I always used to wonder about this, and I just learning to hear God's voice for you, okay? And just because you're a Christian, it doesn't give anyone the right to persecute us as an individual. That's why we have laws. But it's just learning to hear God's voice in the moment and reading your set of circumstances correctly. So just recently I just been overwhelmed by so much, okay? So it's quite clear that when I was working for the government, other religions and other cultures persecuted me. They persecuted me under the camera, so my employer can get into trouble for all that, because that's where it started. And then they built a shrine around me, and then they used the substitutes or other women, diverting my energy to them. But it is illegal, okay? It is absolutely illegal, and we're not doormats. I do not believe that anyone has that right to abuse anyone just because their belief is different to theirs. But that is a reality of the evidence in my case and what actually happened to me. Other people saw the opportunity to take advantage of an individual, and they did dig up my past to use against me, and they don't have anything substantial legally. According to the law, I'm definitely their victim, and so I'm continuing to contest that. And but what I've gone through, the evidence clearly shows that the people behind the alliance had one mindset only, is to actually a downhill spiral with the idea of not getting caught. But it is definitely, if you don't know what a conspiracy is, that is what you call a conspiracy. All right, I better leave it there. I've gone longer than what I wanted. So apologize if I know sometimes you can feel like I get upset and that, but I'm only a human being. Okay, I'm not afraid to be myself and feel as I speak my mind as I feel. And I know that in the real world, people relate to real people, not people groomed and dressed up by another person to deceive. And deception is actually quite off-putting. But yep. So I'll leave it at that.